These players are going to be going nuclear in week 8 fantasy football, so you need to be starting them. If you are one of the 82% of people that are not currently subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. On the way to 4,000 subscribers, answering all your start sit questions all season long. Starting it off with the running back that I'm starting this week. Number 1, we'll be starting Kenneth Walker for the Seattle Seahawks. And of course, you're like, Caleb, of course I'm starting Kenneth Walker this week. For me, I have Kenneth Walker as a top 5 running back going up against this Buffalo Bills defense, which has been susceptible to the run. Kenneth Walker is a guy that I do have in my top 5 running backs rest of season. And pretty much besides the week 2 and week 3 games when he's been hurt, Kenneth Walker has looked very good. But I will say the last 4 games, there's been the big moments versus Detroit versus Atlanta, and it's been okay versus San Francisco and the Giants. But I love this matchup for Kenneth Walker this week. I do have Kenneth Walker projected at 17.2 fantasy points. So I absolutely love Kenneth Walker and believe he's absolutely going to help blow up your fantasy football team. My second running back that I'm absolutely starting this week, it's going to be Jordan Mason. And I don't know how much longer we are going to have the Jordan Mason show for the San Francisco 49ers because we do have CMC returning at some point. But Jordan Mason versus this Dallas defense. It's crazy to say. Last year we were talking about Dallas as an absolute lockdown defense. This year we're saying this is a great matchup for Jordan Mason. The last 3 weeks it hasn't been ideal. But going into this game where we're looking at probably no Debo and we're looking at no Brandon Ayuk, Jordan Mason, they're going to have to rely on this running attack. I know you got Jawan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle for receiving options, but I absolutely love Jordan Mason this week. I know he was limited on Wednesday, so we'll have to see how he kind of progresses as we continue on through the week. But I do have Jordan Mason projected at 16.9 fantasy points this week. Absolutely love Jordan Mason and think he's absolutely going to blow up and be a great level start. And for all of you that are saying, well, Caleb, some of these guys might not be going fully nuclear like you were saying. Of course, I'm not going to tell you to start Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry. Like those guys are going nuclear. I absolutely love them. They're at the top of my running back rankings this week. But I'm giving you guys ideas of players that you have to have a ton of confidence in heading into week 8 fantasy football. The next guy is going to be DeAndre Swift, who I do believe is going to be going nuclear. Have him as a top 15 running back versus this Washington Commanders team. I hear you. Maybe no Jayden Daniels. We were hoping for a Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams showdown. I do have DeAndre Swift projected at 15.7 fantasy points this week. So absolutely love what we will be getting out of DeAndre Swift in the Chicago Bears team. Love me some Caleb Williams too, but I do like DeAndre Swift. Absolutely believe he is going to be going nuclear for you in your running back spot. Now, moving on to some wide receivers that I believe are going to be going nuclear in week 8 fantasy football. The first guy is going to be Jayden Reed, and Jayden Reed let us down last week, but I'm going back to the well with Jayden Reed this week. Have Jayden Reed as a top 12 wide receiver. I understand we don't know, is it going to be Wicks? Is it going to be Kraft? Is it going to be Christian Watson? Is it going to be Romeo Doubs? Like, we don't know who it's going to be in this wide receiver core, but I feel confident versus the Jacksonville Jaguars that it will be the Jayden Reed show. All the metrics point to Jayden Reed being absolutely electric. Even last week, I know it wasn't the best game, but he did still have 4 targets. When he seems to get 6 targets or more, that's when things absolutely start cooking for Jayden Reed. So I'm excited to see what Jayden Reed can do this week. Like I said, have him right in that top 12 wide receivers, projecting him at 15.3 fantasy points. Re-put him in your lineup, start him with confidence. Absolutely love some Jayden Reed. The next guy that I believe is going fully nuclear this week, it's going to be Cooper Kupp. Now, Cooper Kupp has been a little bit in the news with some trade rumors. There's the rumors of like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, like the Kansas City Chiefs, like the Buffalo Bills, checking in to see what's it going to take to get a guy like Cooper Kupp on our team. But assuming that Cooper Kupp plays for the Rams, he will be going up against the Minnesota Vikings, and this is an absolutely great matchup. Have him projected at 16.2 fantasy points. Feel great starting him as a high-end wide receiver 1. Now, the last and final wide receiver that we'll hit on in this video before we move to quarterback and tight end, it's going to be Amari Cooper for the Buffalo Bills. And Amari Cooper, I do have him as a top 20 wide receiver this week, going up against the Seattle Seahawks. We talked about how we loved the matchup for Kenneth Walker going up against the Buffalo Bills front 7. I do believe that this is going to be a high enough scoring game that they're going to have to be throwing the ball a ton. And we saw that connection last week with Josh Allen. Imagine another week of Amari Cooper knowing the playbook a little bit better. Like I said, 4 or 5 targets for 66 yards and a touchdown and really not knowing the playbook a whole lot. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do in this week 8 game. Absolutely believe Amari Cooper's going nuclear, and we have been saved for us Amari Cooper owners that were patient and were waiting in this trade. Absolutely love it for Amari Cooper. Now, let's move on to some quarterbacks. The first quarterback I want to talk about is Caleb Williams, because we talked a little bit about him in the DeAndre Swift, why I believe he's going to go nuclear, but going up against Washington, I do believe this is a top 6 matchup for Caleb Williams, whether or not Jayden Daniels is going to play at all. For me, I have him projected at 19.3 fantasy points. Like I said, have him ahead of guys like a CJ Stroud and a Kyler Murray this week. That's how excited I am for Caleb Williams, as he does have all the weapons. We talked about the DJ Moore, the Keenan Allen, the Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift in the back, but even even more, this Washington pass defense has been susceptible to allotting passing yards, and that's exactly what Caleb Williams has been doing. So absolutely want to continue riding the Caleb Williams hot streak the last 2 weeks. It's been absolutely incredible. So continue to ride Caleb Williams. I believe he's going nuclear in week 8 fantasy football. And the last quarterback, like I said, you guys know who the studs are, but I did want to bring up the name Jordan Love. Jordan Love's been absolutely balling. I do have him as a top 4 quarterback this week. So because I know some of you have the decision between like a Jordan Love and a CJ Stroud or a Jordan Love and a Patrick Mahomes, depending on your team. Jordan Love, 100% have him as a top 4 QB. Roll out him as he's going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Been absolutely balling the last 2 weeks as well. So continue to start Jordan Love with confidence. Absolutely love where this Green Bay Packers overall offense is headed. Now we move on to some tight ends that I believe are going nuclear in week 8 fantasy football. And the first one's going to be David Njoku. David Njoku, I told you in the trade video this week that you probably should explore what some trades are going to look like for David Njoku, but I do have David Njoku as a top 5 tight end, as last week he did have 10 of 14 targets for 74 yards. If he continues to get 14 targets, David Njoku is going to be an absolute killer at the tight end position. Jameis Winston starting this week, going up against the Baltimore Ravens. They're going to have to be throwing the ball because they're down, which means if David Njoku can get 10 plus targets, absolutely going to return on that value as a top 5 tight end for me this week. Have David Njoku projected at 12.4 fantasy points in full PPR. Absolutely love some David Njoku. My last and final player that I believe you need to be starting that has the chance to go nuclear in week 8 fantasy football, it's going to be Cade Otton for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. Who are the options? Bucky Irving, Rashad White, Jalen McMillan, Sterling Shepard. Someone's going to have to step up, and I believe it could be Cade Otton, as I do have Cade Otton as a top 10 tight end this week. Last week versus Baltimore, he did have 10 total targets, and that was with Chris Godwin playing for the full game. I know Mike Evans went out early in that first half, but he led the team in receiving on that Monday Night Football game. So I'm feeling like Baker's going to have to throw to somebody. Why can't and why won't it be Cade Otton? If you've had Cade Otton stashed, definitely feel like for these next few weeks, especially without Mike Evans, it's only going to benefit a guy like Cade Otton. So make sure you go get Cade Otton. Believe he's going to go nuclear in week 8 fantasy football. So if you like fantasy football, if you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button on the way to 4,000 subscribers. We will be streaming on Friday night. So if you want me to answer your start state questions, make sure you drop them down below. Make sure you come on Friday night. And like I said, guys, appreciate all the support you guys have been given. Here are 2 more videos, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.